Hello, everybody. And of course, for those in the States here, I know even though I have it in the header as more like tomorrow, but happy day before Thanksgiving for those of us in the States. So I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. We're in the middle of the week. Normally, this would be hump day, as this would be just simply the middle of the week. And, but as I previously mentioned, this week, of course, we're taking Thursday and Friday off for the Thanksgiving holiday. So this is actually going to be the last episode of the Mikestand for this week, as well as for the month of November, for when we next see you guys. We will be it will be December, this Sunday, December 1st, in which, of course, I'll have RJ Carter from Critical Blast on with me to as we'll be going over as we'll be continuing our trip down Comics History Lane, looking to comics that went on sale in April of 1940 with Ace magazine. But I'll talk more about that a little later, of course. While we're waiting for everybody to come in. If you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let's see. You could take it. Everybody wants you. You know you could make it. Oh, oh, oh. You could take it. Everybody wants you. You know you could take it. Oh, oh, oh. You could take it. Everybody wants you. You know you could take it. Oh, oh, oh. Gonna wake up, wake up. Just wanna hold your hand. Just wanna hold your hands. Just wanna hold your hands. Just wanna hold your hands. The song from an anime called Noragami Aragoto. Um, if you're wondering what I'm singing there, called "Hey Kids" from the Oral Cigarette. So it's kind of a catchy tune. Uh, but anyways, all right, so we're at the 3 minute mark here. So I guess I'll talk about, or coming more about like a 3.5 minute mark. So I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight I got a couple articles to go over. One from Mounting in the Comments, the other one from Bleeding Fool, including I guess a new version of the Anna Green Gables anime will be coming out soon. Um, we'll be looking at that, and then also we'll be heading over to Bleeding Full for go over an article. Can't remember what it was off the top of my head at the moment. Let me go double check that. Let's see. Just wanna hold your hand. Just wanna hold your hand. Oh yeah. So Belgium, and we're also going to be looking at a situation revolving around Belgian comic Spiro comic. Um, so that one's also going to be we're going to be looking at that as well. With that being said, let's see where are we at now in time. And one more reminder before we get started here, of course. Let's see if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in to engage that in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's get into the articles then. Now, get into the material here. All right, so the first article we're going to look at is this one revolving around Anne of Green Gables. Now, if I remember correctly, there was actually a previous anime adaptation of Anne of Green Gables before, like I don't know if it was in the 70s or 80s or something like that, but they got another one coming out. So, classic tale Anne of Green Gables returns in new anime adaptation Anne Shirley by Answer Studio. Article by Nerdigans Inc. published earlier today. So let's get into this then. Oh yeah, the 1979. As I recall, it was, as I said, it was from the 1970s. So Anne waits for her new series to arrive in Anne of Green Gables episode 1. Matthew Cuthbert is surprised. 1979 Nippon Animation. All right, so over 70 years after the novel's Japanese debut, so 70. So let's see, 70 years, over 70 years, so 1954, I guess. Japanese Television Broadcast Network. Over 70 years after the novel's Japanese Television Broadcast Network (NHK) revealed that Lucy Maud Montgomery's 1908 classic coming-of-age novel Anne of Green Gables is receiving a new anime dubbed Anne Shirley. Okay, so 70 years after the... Okay, yeah, all right. Produced by the Answer Studio, the one responsible for Suzume and Your Name, Anne Shirley is a coming-of-age tale that said to depict quote, Anne Shirley, Diana Derry, and their friends living and thriving in harmony with the beautiful nature. Unparentheses. NHK reports that over the course of the series, the titular character's growth will be depicted in 3 pillars. One being Anne's bond with the Cuthbert family. And again, they're showing us scenes of course. They're showing us scenes from the 1979 anime. Quote, the diversity depicted in the original story is carefully portrayed through the process of the 3 becoming a family, unquote, says NHK. Anne and Diana's friendship shall follow. The site continues, quote, the importance of best friends and the friendship that transcends changes in each other's circumstances as they grow up, unquote. I guess, well, they forgot the end there. Then, the romance between Anne and love interest Gilbert Blythe will also flourish. Quote, from rivals to friends, and finally to the realization of love is the climax of the work, unquote, it says. Released in 1979 and produced by Nippon Entertainment, the Anne of Green Gables 50-episode anime was the 5th entry in the studio's World Masterpiece Theater series, which released 26 anime versions of the classic novels around the world. Yeah, so originally there was, as I said, there was a anime adaptation back in the 70s there, so 79. This one, I guess, is a newer one for 2025. 10 years later, a compilation film titled Akage no An, Green Gables Ie no Michi. The English translation here is, quote, red-haired Anne, Road to Green Gables, unquote, in parentheses, which served as a recap of the anime's first 6 episodes, was released on VHS. In 2009, Nippon Animation released a prequel series, Konichiwa and Before Green Gables, adapted from Budge Wilson's book, commemorating the novel's 100th year anniversary. The 39-episode prequel depicts Anne's difficult life prior to being sent to the Cuthbert family. That was also 2009 was 30 years after the original anime, the original Nippon anime as well. Now a whole new generation will be introduced to this classic tale as Anne Shirley. It's scheduled to air on NHK's educational television channel in April of 2025. So that'll be interesting to see then. It's always interesting to see how Japanese depict, other works and other parts of history from around the world. There we go. That article went pretty quick. Let's see now. Let's see. So let's see. Let's move on to the other article I was going to do tonight, of course. Bleeding Fool. All right, this one I think will take a little longer because it's a little more meaty here, a little more controversial too, and you'll find out why soon enough here. So, Belgian publisher recalls Spiro comic due to, in smaller quotes, racism complaints. Article by Avi Green, published earlier today. The UK Guardian reports the veteran Belgian comic series, Spiro, has come under woke assault for caricatures. A comic book has been withdrawn from sale by its Belgian publisher after an outcry over racist depictions of black people and quote-unquote hypersexualized images of women. Oh boy. The publisher, Dupuis, now this is the same publisher that also does the Smurfs comic, or did the Smurfs comics as well, just so you know, over there in Belgium, announced that its graphic novel, Spiro and the Blue Gorgon, would be removed from shops after the book caused a storm on social media. In an announcement last week, Dupuis said it was, quote, profoundly sorry if this album has been shocking and hurtful, unquote, adding that it had been done in a, quote, caricatured style of representation from another era. Yeah, again, that's the thing, if you're trying to depict certain things, people shouldn't be getting upset when it's being, when they're. Let's see. The publisher added it was, quote, more aware than ever of our moral duty and the importance of comics, unquote, adding, quote, we take full responsibility today for this error in judgment, unquote. Spiro and the Blue Gorgon, a satirical tale of so-called, quote-unquote, eco-terrorists, junk food, and plastic rubbish, was first published in September 2023 and widely reviewed in the Francophone press with a little controversy. Basically, the French press, I believe, is that is. That changed last month when a TikTok video denouncing its portrayal of black people and women, TikTok, from China, of course. And of course, I wonder who specifically, was it somebody from the States here? Was it somebody from the West here that had a problem with this? If it was, then why? I mean, and women went viral, triggering a great deal of criticism. One internet user noted that all of the white characters were human beings, while black characters were depicted as monkeys, and the women, typically drawn with plunging cleavage and tiny waist, um, were quote unquote hypersexualized. Again, though, it was a satire. Okay, for all they know, for all whoever that made that was making this complaint knows, it could have been actually satirizing the very bad behavior that they're like kind of denouncing here. Anyways, I need to go off camera here for a moment, so I'm going to put some music on for a moment, and I'll be right back. All right, anyway, so back to the article here. So, after the publisher's decision, local media reported that approximately 30,000 copies would be removed from sale, a decision said to be the first of its kind in Belgium. Let's see. And then here's Avi replying to that. While I don't condone censorship, I will say it's surprising when some modern artists think it's inherently acceptable to draw black characters in deformed shapes. Yeah, well, I don't know if here's kind of the issue I'd have with that statement though. I don't think it'd be quite as big an issue if everybody was drawn in deformed shapes. You know, I mean, the fact that black people and women were the ones who were drawn in quote unquote deformed shapes or whatever, or controversial shapes, as I'd have you, is I think what really got some people upset here. In other words, if the white men were drawn in a deformed manner as well, I don't think anybody would be complaining about it, because then you could say that everybody, as they said here, this is supposed to be a satire, you know. So now obviously I don't know Dutch, so um, let's see. And then here's Avi speaking more about it. On the other hand, it's regrettable whoever filmed that video on a social media site that must be replacing X Twitter as a place where creepy people engage in social justice propaganda, did not want to make any distinction between drawings that could be racially offensive and drawings depicting women as hot. What next? Will Francois Wathery's Natasha come under the gun? If nobody's willing to defend Wathery's notable comic strip that debuted in 1970, that's what'll happen next. Now, mind you, as I said earlier, Dupuis, who is, I guess, the publisher of Spiro here, is also they're also the publishers that gave Belgium the Smurfs way back, called Le Strumps, so Anyway, so I guess because most cartoonists for these sort of comic strips may know better than to draw sensationalized depictions of sexual violence, that's why the wokesters go after them for something as cheap as sexualization, even if it's in good taste. Now, I guess back to the article here. Comic strips or bandes dessinées are celebrated as an art form in Belgium and France. But some once feted um, works have been strongly criticized for their stereotypical depictions of women and people of color. In 2011, an attempt to ban the 1930 comic book Tintin in the Congo over its portrayal of Africans failed in the Belgian courts. Well, yeah, I mean, a 1930 comic depicting 1930 life. Come on, I mean, that's a little, again, context, people. The cartoonist behind the Blue Gorgon, Daniel Hinroten, who uses the pen name Danny, said he had been emulating the style of the late Belgian comic artist André Franquin, who was celebrated in the 1950s and beyond. Donnie said he recognized he had quote unquote made a mistake and was quote unquote truly sorry if I could have hurt anyone. Now again, you're emulating a comic book artist who drew back in the 50s when at a time, you know, people weren't so hypersensitive to every little thing. Anyways, if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's see. Let me see if anybody. All right. Nope. All right. So as we all right. So Danny, 81, denied any racist or misogynist intentions, saying it was never his goal to mock or denigrate people of color and women, while offering a partial defense. Yeah, that you see, that's got to be taken into account too. What's the underlying intent of the person? And most people, if they decide to like emulate an older style that may have been at some point, considered bad, doesn't mean that or maybe considered by today's sensibility standards wrong. Again, context. Quote, I heard it said that we cannot draw like that today. I respond that humor and caricature are in the DNA of the Belgian school of Bande Dessine. Yeah. Leading light, and again, I wonder if if the roles were reversed, if the black people and the women were drawn normally, and the white men and the white people were drawn deformed. I wonder if there'd be such a outcry. Leading lights of the comic world pushed back against the idea that caricature was no longer possible. Quote, comics are automatically caricatures. Isabelle de Becker, the director of the Comic Strip Center in Brussels, told Le Soir, she said artists should not stigmatize groups of people as was done in the 1980s. Quote, it is up to us to be a little more intelligent, whether in our humor or our way of representing reality. Unquote. Quote, I find it a shame that there are still people who do not understand what is problematic, she said. Now we're going to get Avi's response to that. I do agree that racial caricatures of blacks as seen in the early 20th century were inappropriate, but drawing an analogy between that and quote unquote hypersexualization of women is ludicrous. If women were drawn as alarmingly ugly ducklings with hooked noses, kind of like the sea hag from Popeye, or Witch Hazel from Warner Brothers, or even the witch from Wicked, I guess. Would that be acceptable? It reminds me that there's also been anti-Jewish characters in the past where Jews were drawn grotesquely, and black men weren't the only ones subject to insulting stereotypes. Even black women were too, like having short hair and not being drawn as attractively as white women at the time could be. One example I recall finding years ago from the golden age of comicdom was a story starring the original Quicksilver, from the 1949 National Comics Anthology by Quality, now owned by DC. Yeah, I know what I've seen that one too. Who was later renamed Max Mercury in 1993. A black woman in the tale was illustrated with very short hair, while her boyfriend was depicted with large lips. Seriously, would today SJWs want black men and women subjected to that kind of demasculization and defeminization? Would they even want white women subject to the same? Because that would be far more stereotypical and dehumanizing. What's really and then Avi continues here. What's really angering is how the cartoonist who turned out the Sparrow comic that led to this scandal wouldn't recognize why racially insulting characters are taking a big risk, and as a result gave the TikToker the opportunity to plow through defenses and attack its renditions of women as well. If there aren't any crude or sensationalized depictions of sexual violence in the comic, you can't say it's misogynist, quote unquote. That would only be if the artist had subjected women to uglification, physical sexual violence, and even denigrating slurs. Where do these screwballs get the idea it's bad if you draw women beautiful? That only contradicts their alleged stance on racially offensive art to boot. The whole affair also demonstrates what's wrong with the kind of people found on TikTok, owned as it is by a Chinese company, and the biggest irony is that they were accused of racial discrimination. So, where does anyone involved with such a shoddy social network get off ranting about racism and misogyny when the whole business is that shoddy? All right, so interesting take from Avi there. So that's the last of the articles tonight. Here we're coming up on 30 minutes here. So let's see. Well, let me go see if I can find anything else of interest on maybe some other sites here. No, let's see now. I didn't think we'd get through those that quickly, but Alright, so let's see. I'm just let's see. Okay, so nothing really do the. Alright, let me see. I do know. I guess I can go with at least one other reminder. Hey, happy day before Thanksgiving technically, but hey there, Elk. Let's see. A month late, but enjoy. Well, you're up in Canada. You're up in Canada. I know you guys have Thanksgiving up there in October. We have it here in November. So, um, anyways, I just got through a couple articles. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else of note. One of the things I will tell if, and I don't know if you have it up there in Canada, but if you happen to have friendly TV, oh wait, have you seen Goodnight Spoon? No, I haven't seen them around in a while. I actually did ask Rick about it the other day when we were doing the historical comic retrospect the other night. He told me, I guess his grandfather, who's I think like in his 90s, is like in the hospital, and I guess he's like, basically kind of towards the end there. I think he's just trying to spend as much time as he can with him, before he passes on. So that's why he hasn't, I guess, been around. It's what Rick told me, anyways. But anyways, let me go back and see real quick here before we let's see. Yeah. See if there's anything else team that comes up here. Like yeah, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised a bit. All right, so let's see. Well, we're at 33-minute mark. Now let's see. I think I will move on to the wrestling wrap up only because, in part and parcel, there is quite a bit going on this week, wrestling wise, as of course, and since this is also going to be the last uh, Mikestand broadcast for this week and for November, because I'm going to be taking tomorrow and Friday off, so I won't be back. So we won't be back on until Sunday. So, anyways, I think I will get ready to move on. So first off, so now we're going to move on to the wrestling wrap up, of course, because as I said, got quite a bit to go over there. So the first thing we're going to, of course, look at, go back to last night's NXT, as that's the go home NXT before this Saturday Survivor Series, as the WWE is, of course, going to be having Survivor Series this Saturday. So in the Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match, men's side, Ethan Page defeated one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions Axiom. In another singles match, Lola Vice defeated Ren Sinclair in just under 5 minutes. Tony D'Angelo successfully defended the NXT North American title over Shawn Spears. And then, let's see. Julia in a women's Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match, Julia defeated former North American champion, women's North American champion Kalani Jordan, and in a match for the NXT Women's North American Championship, Fallon Henry retained over Tatum Paxley. So as we now do get into this, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up for this Saturday Survivor Series. War Games, of course, coming from the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia. LA Knight will be defending the WWE United States title against Shinsuke Nakamura. In a triple threat match for the WWE Intercontinental title, Braun Breaker will be defending the Intercontinental title against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. Gunther defends the World Heavyweight title against Damian Priest. In the women's War Games match, you have on one side you have Candice LeRae, WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, and Tiffany Stratton, taking on Bayley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky. And in the men's War Games match, you have the OG bloodline of Roman Reigns, the Usos, Jey and Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk, with Paul Heyman in their corner, taking on the current bloodline of Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, and Bronson Reed. So that's been heating up for quite some time. So Jade Cargill was recently taken out of the match as she had suffered a legit injury. So they had her get laid out. So some interesting things to look forward to. Now we're going to get to some AEW news. There's been a little bit of drama going on in AEW as Ricky Starks, who has not been on AEW since March. Recently, AEW decided to pull its wrestlers from some Game Changer wrestling events due to some comments from one of their talent, Effie, and noting that Tony Khan is known for being a bit thin-skinned, not helping, he still said that Ricky, of course, can. Now, the concern is that Ricky Stark's contract option was picked up for another year, so he's still technically going to be with AEW until, from what I understand, the beginning, late spring, early summer of 2025. Only thing is that I think there are some people who've made the claim that part of the reason they picked the options and had him just sitting at home is because they're afraid he was going to, once if they let him out of the contract, he's going to go right to the WWE. So they want to cool him off. You can still work some indie shows though, but yeah. So anyways, and speaking of AEW, of course, let's talk about what's going on tonight's Dynamite, because of course tonight's Dynamite, coming off the heels of Full Gear, got quite a bit going on, as we mentioned the other day. Of course, the Continental Classic is starting tonight as part of Dynamite. Thanksgiving Eve edition of Dynamite. Among the matches already signed, of course, Chris Jericho is defending the Ring of Honor World title tonight against Tomohiro Ishii. In the Wrestle Destiny International Women's Cup qualifying semifinal match, former AEW World Women's Champion Jamie Hayter will be taking on Queen Aminata. Wrestle Destiny, of course, is the event that AEW co-produces with New Japan. That's coming up in January, and then some of the first Continental Classic matchups happening tonight. In the Blue League, Mark Briscoe will be taking on Shelton Benjamin tonight, and then there will be 2 Gold League matches in which Brody King and Darby Allin will be renewing their rivalry at least for one night, as they'll be taking on each other. And Claudio Castagnoli will be taking on Ricochet, as the two of them have had previous history in the WWE together. So that's all that's going down tonight. I'll probably go over some of the results on Monday when we come back. All right. So, anyways, now we're going to, of course, talk a little bit about. We'll move on to some of the TNA news here, as Total Nonstop Action. So, tomorrow night's episode on Access, which was taped in the Crown Arena in Fayetteville. So some never before seen matches are going to be taking place on tomorrow's show, including First Class. AJ Francis and Navarro will be taking on Joe Hendry and Rhino. Jordan Grace, during her time as Knockouts World Title, will be seeing her defend the title against Danny Luna. Mike Bailey, whose contract recently expired with TNA, will be taking on Jake Something. We get a 3-way X Division title defense from Mustafa Ali from earlier in the year against Trent Seven and Leon Slater. PCO takes on Moose in a casket match and a non-title match. Of course, Nick Nemeth. Now, these are all matches that have been taped prior to this, but we're now shown that it's part of a Thanksgiving special here. Matches from earlier in the year here as they prepare for Friday's Turning Point pay-per-view. So we'll talk about that as well here. Talk about what's on tap for that. So this Friday, as soon as I get there. So actually, let me see if there's anything, if they've announced anything for the pre-show yet. So, of course, Turning Point will be a part of the WrestleCade, WrestleCade convention. It'll be held at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Already signed for the pre-show for the countdown to Turning Point. 3-way women's match between Rosemary, Savannah Evans, and Zaya Brookside. That'll be going on. That'll be on the pre-show, and then on Friday's show here. On the main pay-per-view, you'll have Frankie Kazarian taking on Mike Santana in a match that was set up last week on Impact. Moose defends the X Division title against Laredo Kid. In a six-man tag match, the TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, team with Ace Austin to take on the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz and Kushida. In a no disqualification match, Josh Alexander will be taking on Steve Macklin, as Macklin's been looking to get his hands on Alexander for quite some time. In a best 2 out of 3 falls match for the TNA Knockout World title match, former 3-time champion Jordan Grace exercises her rematch clause against current champion Masha Slamovich in a Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl match in which the loser will be forced to wear a turkey suit. Yeah, Digital Media Champion PCO taking on Eric Young, taking on the System's Brian Myers, taking on the Good Hands John Schuyler, taking on Hammerstone and Joe Hendry in the match. And in the main event, we'll see in a match for the TNA World title, Nick Nemeth will be taking on the System's Eddie Edwards. So that's all I got for you in terms of the wrestling wrap-up. Quite a bit to go over on Monday as well. No. Not what we're trying to do here. So let's see now. Where are we at now? 47. Okay, so now what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to go ahead and with today being Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. I'm going to take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So let me just see a few things here. 1999. 1949. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, we're going to wish a happy 75th birthday. Happy 75th birthday to actor Garrett Graham. Garrett Graham, in the world of animation, of course, has done the voice of Franklin Sherman on The Critic, Caterwall in Fievel's American Tales, The Guardian in Gargoyles, Milo in The Tick episode Aimless But Not Harmless. He's also, of course, been, as guest starred in a couple of Star Trek episodes, different franchises. The one that comes to mind most notably, he played the member of the Q Continuum who essentially wanted to end his own life. That was that episode on Voyager. So happy 75th birthday to Garrett Graham. May he have a very good birthday today. So moving on to 1984. Head 40 years ago today. And on this date, 40 years ago today, the 25th issue of New Mutants went on sale on this date back in 1984. 40 years ago today, the 25th issue of the first volume of New Mutants from Marvel went on sale on this date back in 1984. It sold for 60 cents, 32 pages. The story was called The Only Thing to Fear. Of course, written by Chris Claremont, with art by Bill Sienkiewicz. Tom Orzechowski did the lettering, and Glynis Wan did the coloring. Of course, I believe this featured the New Mutants of Cannonball, Wolfbane, Mirage. So on this date, back 40 years ago today, back in 1984, 25th issue of New Mutants went on sale on this date. So with that, moving ahead now to 1999. On this date, 25 years ago today, passing away at the age of 61, Yasuhiro Kojima, better known as Hiro Matsuda, passed away on this date back in 1999. As Hiro Matsuda, of course, known throughout the NWA. He's also the guy who trained a number of major stars, including Hulk Hogan, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Lex Luger, Ron Simmons, Keiji Muto, and many others. He's known as a trainer. Matsuda was famous for being very stiff with his trainees to toughen them up and to teach them to respect the business. Of course, held multiple titles throughout the NWA, including he is a 5-time NWA Florida Southern Heavyweight Champion. Let's see, trying to find. I believe he also held the NWA. I think he also held the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title as well at one point. But I can't find it here. I know he had some. From what I understand, he had some legendary feuds with Danny Hodge, but he had a number of guys that he trained in Florida there. So passing 25 years ago today, the passing of Hiro Matsuda, age of 61. So with that, I do thank everybody for being here. So again, programming note: we won't be here tomorrow or Friday. I'm going to take the Thanksgiving weekend off until so the next time we'll be here will be Sunday, December 1st. I'll have, of course, RJ Carter from Critical Blast joining me as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in April of 1940. We'll be looking at from Ace Comics. We're looking at Super Mystery Comics #1 with features including Ace's version of Vulcan, the Volcanic Man, Magno, the Magnetic Man, and Q13. We'll be back here on Monday with more niche news. Well, I go over the results of the main, the pay-per-views over the weekend, as well as get you caught up on some of the results from the Continental Classic happening on Dynamite and Collision. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And I will see you all on Sunday. Bye.